my name's Lauren Olson. Emitzá Guzmán is also here, if you want to talk about the paper afterwards. So essentially what we did was a practitioner survey of 217 practitioners from diverse backgrounds, and we asked them questions relating to ethics perception. So questions like, how many ethical issues do you think your employer's software has? What ethical issues do you think users have? What types of ethical issues do you think your employer's software has? And these ethical issues that we asked them about come from previous research that we did, where we built this ethical concerns taxonomy. Now, these first 6 ethical issues come from literature. You'll see like discrimination, accountability, transparency. Maybe those seem a little familiar to everyone here. So these are really sort of high level, more so ethical principles. And then the remaining, I think there's about 10, come directly from end users' App Store reviews. So they're all from sort of the perspective of the users, directly from users' language. And we have things that are a bit more concrete here. So things like misinformation, censorship, these can be tied to more specific actions. And can still fall under sort of discriminatory behavior, but are a bit different level. And then so we asked the practitioners, do you have the ability to intervene when you notice these ethical issues? Other questions like, how do you feel speaking up to higher level coworkers? Does your, the things you have to say, are these integrated into the final product? This type of questions. And then finally, we did a demographic analysis. So we analyzed their answers in concert with demographic variables. So is there a difference in ethical advocacy between dominant and marginalized groups? So some results. So only a very slight majority of software practitioners even reported that there were ethical issues in the software that they work on. And practitioners from marginalized groups like women, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, disabled individuals, etc., tended to report ethical issues or seeing ethical issues at a higher frequency. We found no statistically significant differences regarding the frequency of ethical issues that practitioners see and those that they believe users have. There are some differences you can see in the distribution here, but none of them are statistically significant. A majority of respondents, 67%, did not believe that practitioners' identities influence the prioritization of ethical issues during development. We also found that marginalized practitioners report feeling more valued. Regard to their perspectives on ethical issues. They're more likely to share their perspectives on ethical issues. They're more likely to intervene and influence ethical product development. And the greatest difference that we found appears between white men from the global north and Black women from the global south, specifically South Africa. So we used Prolific to do recruitment, and essentially we did a first sample, and then we're like, oh man, we really only got white men from the global north. We need to run another sample so that we can do this demographic analysis with, and then it just so happens to be that I think a lot of people that use Prolific, specifically from the global south, are from South Africa. So we have like a really big sample here. I think around like 80 of our practitioners are from South Africa. And we were really surprised by this result. Like I spent a lot of time, especially in the rebuttal, sort of trying to figure out why this happened. So why do we sort of guess that this difference exists? Because we thought this was quite significant. And we have 2 guesses. One is the law, legal differences, and one is cultural differences. So the first law, I'm so sorry if you're a lawyer, and my description of the legal differences between the US and South Africa isn't the best. I am not a lawyer. But what we found essentially is that there's a difference in the corporate governance regimes between South Africa and Western countries. So it's the difference between an inclusive and inclusive corporate governance regime. So essentially in South Africa, stakeholder-centered rather than shareholder-centered. So they have to include like considerations of the environment, of the community, of employees, of relevant organizations when making decisions, rather than in Western sort of decision-making practices at the business level. It's really just the shareholders making decisions and sort of their concerns being addressed. And then second, there's also cultural differences. So again, I'm not from South Africa, so I'm not familiar with the culture there, but I will do my best. So the dominant cultural philosophy in South Africa, in sub-Saharan Africa generally, is Ubuntu, which is sort of, it essentially translates to I am because we are, and it's a very like community-oriented practice. And this translates to differences in business ethic procedures. So it's a difference of relying on face-to-face communication rather than written reports and bureaucratic procedures. Consensus rule over majority rule. So like everyone's considerations will be taken into consideration during the decision-making process, even if that takes more time, even if it's sort of annoying, even if you have to like make concessions. And this is done to increase social harmony over just productivity. And then finally, this like really enhances the accountability of the group to sort of a shared accountability rather than that accountability being on individual advocates, which is sort of the model in Western business practices. You have a few people who really care, they might be in this room, and they're really trying to get ethical practices implemented, but when you have decision making happening as a group, it allows the accountability to be shared. And that's it. Thank you. Yes, I have extra time.